Okay, I think we're good. I'm like operating two different like tracks over here. My mind is at its limit, maximum capacity for knowing how to run this stuff. But anyways, what's going on, everybody? I hope you're all doing fantastic out there. You are watching this on a Monday? All the days just kind of bleed together. But I was like, you know what? Today's video should be about something I'm terrible at. So basically every video I ever make. But no, we're gonna talk about something I feel like I struggle with a lot, and I need a lot more work at it, and I'm gonna kind of highlight a lot of the weaknesses that I have with this exact technique. And of course we're talking about vibrato, and I'm gonna talk about some stuff that I'm, trying to utilize to make my vibrato better, more controlled, all kinds of stuff. We're getting into that. Not really tabs for this lesson. I'm just gonna talk about some stuff and, play some riffs in between like I normally do. But let's just go ahead and get in and let me know. Did anyone else have any trouble with vibrato? Personally, I think it's one of the most expressive and difficult techniques to learn on guitar. So let's go. Oh, vibrato. I love it. All my favorite guitar players have incredible vibrato. Some of them a little bit faster vibrato, like an Angus Young style. Some of them that Eddie kind of wide vibrato, or Eric Johnson, all these guys, And what's really cool is they all have a very unique vibrato. Vibrato is extremely unique to the individual. And what I found happens to me, the first area of flaw in my vibrato is I have a hard time, like, whenever you kind of like really start feeling the music and you get excited about, whatever the riff is or whatever's going on, my vibrato seems to speed up as I enter more of like a hyper state. When I'm playing, my vibrato speeds up. So I can sit here and be chill and do it, but I remember live sometimes, like you'd be really getting into the music, and my vibrato would just be like, it gets really fast all of a sudden. I'm like, man, I need to like work. And I think a lot of that comes down to technique. I need to really hone in on my vibrato technique. There's, I have some friends who have incredible vibrato. My buddy Sam Colson, he is, he's just an amazing guitar player, but he has, I think, one of the best vibratos I've ever heard. Sam really does have a good vibrato. Another one of my favorite players, I don't know this guy, he's a legend, but just I think has an incredible vibrato, is George Lynch. He has this really wide and just such a smooth sounding vibrato. But I find that like I said, if I'm not focusing on how I'm going to vibrato, I tend to like I lose control, and sometimes even the pitch can go, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But I do a lot of I just kind of walk through a scale sometimes, and I try to bend or just do straight vibrato. And that's kind of like my stepping stone for it, is I need to figure out what kind of vibrato I want to have. Now, there's another point I'm going to hit here in a little bit, but that's the first one. I need to like be able to slow down and do it naturally without needing to focus so much on it. Because also, you focus on it, then you mess it up. You get thinking, and it's just, it all goes downhill. So that's my first mistake with vibrato. I need to be able to control it at all times. Alright, now next is that I spent way too much time focused on one type of vibrato. It wasn't until, actually I can tell you exactly where the first time I really heard a different kind of vibrato was another friend of mine, another incredible guitar player. His name is Steve Hubbard, or Hubert. I guess I've never like heard you say your last name, so I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. But he was doing a more like violin style. Like he was just like this real subtle vibrato. I'm not good at it because obviously I need to practice it. But I spent all this time working on one vibrato, and what happened is I needed to like reevaluate, because sometimes situations don't call for a full-on Zakk Wylde vibrato. Sometimes it's more chill. You need to play to the song, and what I found was I spent a lot of time developing a vibrato, and I was like, well, I only have one kind of vibrato to offer. So you have to learn a lot of touch and feel with your vibrato, because maybe let me turn some of this distortion off, because it is just a bit much, wouldn't you say? It's a bit much. So if I'm doing that, You know, that's a much smoother vibrato that I'm doing. And even that's kind of fast. Like, I caught myself, I was like, okay, focus on it, slow it down. If you listen, you can hear my vibrato slow down. Because I like this sound a lot. See how that got faster? I gotta work on it, you know, I need to work on that. So that's the other thing, you know, I've tried to incorporate different styles of vibrato. You know, it's hard because you develop your own, and you also need to have different ones that you can use at different times, and sometimes no vibrato. Okay, now this is something that I found the trap for it early on. This is why whenever I focused on students, I tell them, you know, a lot. They would ask me, like, why can't I just bend down instead of up? I'm like, you got to be able to bend both ways. Different situations call for different stuff. And what happened to me was I got to where I could, you know, obviously the high E string and the B string, you have to bend up. There's really no way around that. You can't bend the high E string down. But the G, I always bent down. I still bend it down a lot. You know, that was kind of engraved. Nope, see, I lost it. And what I found was you know, all of a sudden I needed to do licks that had like that kind of stuff, and I'm like, oh wow, I'm just so used to bending down, it was hard to bend up. So then, you know, bending and adding vibrato is a whole another level to it, you know, because there's different ways to do it. You know, sometimes vibrato, like right out of the gate, is what you want, you know, and sometimes you want it to be more like you bend up, more basically like a vocalist style vibrato, you know, like you get to the pitch and then you hit the vibrato. So it's like, you know, and that's still kind of fast. So, you know, I need to work on slowing that down. There we go. It's getting there. Like I said, you know, it's just something I need to work on. You know, it takes a long time to really develop a vibrato. Some, you know, I have better days than some, and some days I'm like, okay, cool, I'm getting it, and then, you know, it'll be back down into the gutter with my vibrato. There you have it, man. Bend those strings. What I needed to work on to do that was I started bending the G and stuff up, and I would bend through my scales is really what I did. So if I did like an A minor scale or something, you know, I could work on the high E string, and I just bend up. Woo, that's hard to bend. And I would do the same thing on the G, because, you know, the high E string and the B are just what I was used to. So then I would go to the G and I'm like, okay. No, sorry. And try to add that vibrato on them. You know, and I just needed to work on it. And even me hearing it now, I feel like it's too fast. So I need to slow it down. But that's just another one. Another area of the weakness of my vibrato. And the final thing here that I wanted to add, it kind of ties back into the first one, is that my pitch gets all over the place sometimes, and it's like I said, you know, you kind of get overexcited. I'm a little bit more of a heavy-handed player, so I tend to dig in a little bit more. And what happens with that, unfortunately, is sometimes you bend too much, or switching guitars. Like it takes me a minute to switch from Strat to Les Paul, or even like this guitar, which has, you know, my Gold Top has 11s on it, and the other Les Paul has 10s on it. You know, they just feel better for some reason. I don't know why this one feels best with 11s. It doesn't make any sense to me. But you know, this one, the 11s are not tons harder to bend, but a little bit more difficult. So then when I switch back to the other one, my bends will be like, you know. And if I'm not paying attention, I need to listen. You know, that's really what it comes down to, is sometimes I forget to listen to where I'm bending. Because I have this bad bad habit of Jimmy Paging a lot of bends, and not that he has a bad habit because he's Jimmy Page, but you know, the over bends. You know, I just let it go to wherever, and it sounds cool sometimes, but sometimes you need to be more precise. You know, so I need to like really listen. And slow and get the technique down, because like I said, the technique is just rocking your wrist. It's not your fingers. I'm not bending with my fingers. It's all, you see my hand moving, my fingers lock. A really good solo to learn that has really cool bending in it. I learned the Shook Me All Night Long solo. I mean, like, the whole solo. Oh. Something like along those lines is how it goes. I'm probably missing some important notes, but close enough, right? Close enough for rock and roll. So there you have it, though. That's what I'm just kind of working on. I'm not the best at it, but I'm determined to get better. So let me know what you guys are working on. Do you have a technique that's always just giving you trouble? For me, the vibrato and bending has always been a challenge. So other than that, I'm bouncing out of here, guys. Let me know. I'll lay down some rhythm here for you. You can jam out if you're feeling like it. We'll do it in the key. Let's do key of B. Just give you some shuffle kind of stuff. And I'll see you next time. So have a good Monday. I think it's Monday, right? Well, it's not Monday right now when I'm recording this, but it's Monday when you see it. Again, who knows at this point. So see you guys.